again, good morning and welcome to this Commissioners Court session. Before we get started, do we have any items anyone wants to announce or any announcements that are not on the agenda that are special in nature? Anybody? I know that there's some of our fire departments that are out on a call today. Greg Morelli said there was an accident in Yoakum or Moulton. Do we know? Yoakum. Moulton was a different call, but Yoakum. Okay, so we've got several fire departments out on scene right now as we speak. Which brings us into action item number 1, discuss and approve the resolution of the Lavaca County Fire Association. Do I hear a motion?
I so move. Second.
Motion made by precinct 2, seconded by precinct 1. Any discussion?
Sure, what are we going to do?
If not, let me read you the resolution. Basically, this has been coming for at least the last 3 or 4 years, talking about moving in a different direction. Our fire departments have always had mutual aid agreements between each other. They're there to serve each other. What we've asked the fire departments to do, and they've done, is they formed their own association to come to before the court, essentially. So if they need something, you've got one voice. And the association is made up of the 5 fire chiefs of Lavaca County. But let me read this resolution to you, and I think it'll make more sense. And this is a resolution that was drafted by the Fire Association. It says, whereas the Lavaca County Fire Association was formed in 2023, whereas the Hallettsville Volunteer Fire Department, Moulton Volunteer Fire Department, Shiner Volunteer Fire Department, Sweet Home Volunteer Fire Department, and Yoakum Fire Department fire chiefs formed a 5-member coalition to better serve all of Lavaca County, including incorporated cities, unincorporated communities, and rural areas. Whereas the Lavaca County Fire Association's mission is to provide protection of life, property, and environment for all citizens of Lavaca County through emergency service operations and multi-department collaborative efforts. Whereas the Lavaca County Fire Association is made up of 1 fire chief from each fire department or 1 delegate approved by both the fire department and the Lavaca County Commissioners Court. Whereas the Lavaca County Fire Association makes mutual aid policies and procedures, fosters mutual aid and training events, and makes recommendations to the Lavaca County Commissioners Court on behalf of all Lavaca County fire departments. Now be it resolved that the Lavaca County Commissioners Court recognizes the Lavaca County Fire Association as its official point of contact for all county fire and emergency-related services within Lavaca County, Texas. And that is the resolution. Basically, this is ratifying the association with the court, saying we acknowledge this association, that they are making decisions behind the scene and coming to us for recommendations, etc.
This basically just creates an umbrella organization to put everything under one silo.
Essentially, yes. And we're recognizing that they're in charge of training the fire department, they're in charge of mutual aid, and then we are already partners with each fire department.
Yes.
We contribute monies for their out-of-county runs or out of city limit runs, okay. And that number is quite low, and we do need to make some changes along the way as far as that goes.
Yeah, fire people working everything out, work together real well so far. Fire departments get together and get this all together.
If Chief Petrie, if you don't mind, if you would come to the microphone. And I believe this is Chief Petrie out of Shiner coming to the podium, and he's been elected so far the spokesperson for the Fire Chiefs Association. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
Everything going well?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're doing a lot of training, really a lot of training, which is kind of our biggest mission, if you will, as volunteers. Guys that do it every day, they're kind of used to doing things, but we have to train. And fortunately, my training captain is here. Assistant Chief Decker with me, that's on the fire side. My training captain. He does a really great job as far as training, and so we're starting to venture out, I guess, if you will, with this organization and start to get in line with all the other departments. One of our main goals here is we get on a scene. We just had the big Warner's fire in Shiner, and it worked pretty seamlessly through with Hallettsville coming on. And then Yoakum showing up with their ladder truck. We all were on the same page. We all knew what we were supposed to do. We all knew how to interact with each other. So yes, to answer the question, I guess it's a long answer there, but things are going well. We're doing a lot of interoperability stuff. We're starting to get really familiar with the way we all operate. We're all individuals, right? We're individual departments, but we need come together as one, so we can help each other better. A lot of the years past, we don't see it, it was kind of, we run in circles for the first 30 minutes, we all kind of figure out what we're doing. Now it's just pretty seamless once we get on steam, so, yes, it's going pretty well.
As that, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution of Lavaca County Fire Association.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, we had a motion to bring it to the floor, and then we have a motion to approve.
So are y'all voting on the first one, or y'all want to vote on the first one?
That was the motion to bring it to the floor. So once the motion was made to bring it to the floor, we brought the issue to the floor. Now they've made a motion to approve. So I've got a motion made by Precinct 4, second by Precinct 3, to approve the resolution of the Lavaca County Fire Association. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Billy.
Just hang around, we may have some more questions for you. And again, I want to reiterate before we go forward, Barbara and I have talked about this, it's confusing to them when we make motions to bring to the floor, but any of these motions don't have to come to the floor. If any of us put an agenda item on here and no one else makes a second, it does not, it dies right there on the vine. So there's a process to this. So anyway, just bring that issue up. Okay, agenda item number 2, discuss and approve the Lavaca County Fire Association Mutual Aid Agreement. Do we have a motion?
Yes. One, I approve. Second?
Okay. Precinct 1 made a motion to bring it to the floor, seconded by Precinct 2. Any discussion? And essentially, I will start with the discussion, is this mutual aid agreement, and I was actually privy to go to their meeting on July the 7th. Fire chiefs invited me there to speak, and I witnessed their signatures of all of the mutual aid agreement. So the 5 fire departments came together and created their own mutual aid agreement for this committee that they have created, and it's really their agreement. But we wanted to bring it before the court, just so the court is aware that they are coming together, they are working together, they have these mutual agreements in place. Therefore, it makes us easier to fund or make decisions based on what you guys need. And we're actually, if you looked in their agreement, in the resolution, they are a point of contact to recommend, if the fire departments want a burn ban, they're the ones who are going to come back to us and recommend a burn ban or burn policy or whatever it might be. So it's important that we know that there is a mutual agreement in place, and we know that they are our collective voice for all things fire. Yes, sir.
Can I have a question?
Go ahead.
Bobby, what is the trigger to invoke other departments involved in an incident?
The mutual aid is solely on the command of that incident. So a lot of times when we get on scene and we know we're going to need help, it's always better to call early and to refuse them than not call them and not need them, or need them and
Right.
So it's just one of those things like on the Warner fire. When we got on scene and there was 30-foot flames coming out of the building, we had plenty of personnel, we didn't have enough apparatus. So we went ahead and enacted it right away, called Hallettsville. They were on their way within 5 minutes of on scene, and Yoakum was the same way, they were headed our direction. So it's always better to call early and tell them, sorry guys, get y'all out of bed at 3 a.m., but we don't need you, thanks a lot. But 9 times out of 10, by the time they get there, once one of our crews, their interior are going to be gassed and they need help. So they can go to rehab and get some water, rest a little bit, somebody else goes in. A lot of people don't understand when you get on scene and you're wearing, 90 pounds of gear on you, and that gear is designed to keep all the heat out, and it also keeps all your heat in. Our core temperature can get to about 103 to 105 within 15 minutes. So those guys, after about 30 minutes, need to come out and rehab, otherwise we're going to have heat-related injuries, which we did have a couple on that last fire. We had a couple guys get IV on scene, which thank goodness now, that follows us around and we do the same if we need to. So they're always there for us. But yeah, so we tend to do it relatively quickly, and then if we don't need them, we can always turn them around. And this mutual aid agreements we do have aren't only just between us. We have them, we're helping them all the time. I think Moulton helps Flatonia, and they need to move over to Colorado County and down south in the Dewitt County. So it's not only just interdepartmental. You know, we always say that we're a big family, and we are. Firefighters are, you know, we're all cut from the same cloth, so we're gonna help each other no matter where we're at. But yeah, to answer your question, we do enact them fairly quickly, and then we'll just call them off if we don't do them.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
And another thing is again, from a county deliberative body, the five of us, we have neighboring counties that want us to be doing these things as well. And so this movement will keep growing until we've got counties can protect counties in a matter of a phone call. So it's important we just make any steps to kind of clean things up a little bit. I mean, there's been, I think, in y'all's meeting, there was discussion, there was a mutual agreement in place, written maybe 25 years ago or so.
That's correct.
And so we just kind of resurrected that.
Yeah, we made the agreement that we will come together again if there's a change in chief anywhere. We'll come together and make a new agreement and bring that to the court for y'all's records anytime we make a change in that. But like I said, it was 25 years ago, so there's been several chiefs since that change on that list.
And just some of the things that I've witnessed in the meeting that I was privy to attend, you're restructuring how you name trucks. So when Shiner needs an engine from Hallettsville, they say Hallettsville Engine 1 needed on scene. I mean, they are communicating
Right, that's
with
correct.
specifically what you need at a certain scene.
Yes, Hallettsville, and Yoakum presently have that system in place. Shiner, Moulton, do not. Sweet Home does have it in place as well. So for years and years, you know, sometimes, you know, a lot of times fire departments are rooted in tradition. So traditionally in Shiner, we've always had 311 and 312 as our two engines. When Hallettsville calls us to, hey, I need an engine, we've got a bad house fire. All right, 311 en route. They're going, what's 311? We don't know what that is. So now we're changing the way we're doing business in Moulton, Shiner, to where we're saying engine 311 is en route to that fire instead of 311. So it'll clarify a little bit on mutual aid, and it gives everybody a good picture, you know, what's coming and what's needed. You know, we don't need an engine on a grass fire. We need tankers and brush trucks. So that'll help clarify. And just, you know, there's some things, some procedural things we're doing that we're changing to help everybody involved. So.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Sounds good, looks like I'm trying to get everything in line.
All right, I had a motion by precinct 1, second by precinct 2. Do we want to continue that motion? Sure. Okay. So basically what we're approving that the Lavaca County Fire Association's made a mutual agreement. We don't have to approve their mutual agreement per se, but motion was made by precinct 1, second by precinct 2 to approve the Lavaca County Fire Association mutual aid agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, while you're there, Mr. Chief Petru, this is always the one that gets everyone up in arms, but item number 3, discuss and or approve implementing a countywide burn ban. So do we have a motion to discuss it?
I'll make a
Motion
motion.
to discuss? Okay. Any second?
Second.
Motion made by precinct 3, seconded by precinct 4 to discuss implementing a countywide burn ban. Any discussion? And maybe we'll just turn over to our chief of the Lavaca County Association, Fire Association.
Yeah, the burn ban, like you said, is always kind of a contentious, you know, one end of the county's dry, one end of the county's wet, you know, so, and there are parts of the county that are very, very dry. That being said, we're looking for more of a long-term solution. I know every time it gets dry, we come before y'all, and there's debate whether to or not to, and that kind of stuff. You know, I think in last year, Hallettsville was burning up, and then Moulton was very wet, you know, so we like to do things and use metrics, if you will, use data to drive decisions. So Texas Forest Service uses a data-driven system, the KBDI, which is the Key Fire and Drought Index. So basically what that is right now we're at a 502 as of yesterday. It's 513 today. So So that means 5.13 inches into the ground, there's no measurable moisture. So at about 5 inches, if you hit the number of 5 on that index, well, that means there's no moisture to support any type of, and that's why all your grasses start turning brown. So about 4 to 4.5 inches, root systems for most of your grasses are about that deep, so then everything starts to dry off and die. So typically in the fire service, KVDI index of 5 usually triggers a burn ban. So what we were proposing is our burn ban will stay exactly the way it is. The verbiage will all be the same as it's always been in the past, with the exception of we would like to include that KVDI. That way it takes it out of y'all's hands, it takes it out of our hands, and when we hit the KVDI index of 5, what that will do is automatically trigger a burn ban, and then it stays in a burn ban for 2 weeks, and then when it comes down, it automatically goes off if it's been cleared for 2 weeks below 500. So it's more of using, instead of using emotion to make decisions, we're using data to drive decisions, basically.
So if it's wet down south and it's dry up north, you're gonna just do,
It's an average.
It's an
So
average.
what we'll do is we'll do an average of the county, and when that average hits 500,
yeah.
then it'll trigger. So there may be areas that the KPI index is at 7, but we still have a burn ban because somewhere else is really wet. So once we hit that average, I mean, the enforcement mechanism on that would be really tough if you're like, okay, this part of the county is burn ban, this part, I don't know if you could ever.
It'll never work out.
Yeah.
No.
No, and there's a lot of common sense to this. It's July, August, I mean, it's dry, and it's, you just don't burn. And we're making the statement on that.
Question.
Go ahead.
Tom, would you say that this is the Texas Forestry Service does this calculation, or does the test?
Yes, sir, they do this calculation daily for the whole state of Texas.
Okay.
If we want to iterate, I see Chief Tim Decker's coming up here.
I just wanted to give a little bit more background on what Billy was saying. So
Come on.
the Texas A&M Agri-Life Services is the one who does the study. They put out a new meeting every morning at about 10 o'clock. That's right. When we were talking back there a while ago, it wasn't quite updated, but as you came to the podium, it did update. So we're currently sending that out to the fire chiefs daily, right around that 10:30, 11 o'clock, just to keep everybody pieced to the situation. But Texas Agri-Life does do that for us, and we can get it to where it gets sent to us every day, or we can just go to the website and look on an interactive map. So even if the citizens want to know kind of where we're at, they can go to the Texas Agri-Life Center. They have an interactive map. You click on Lavaca County, it'll give you our max number as far as what the driest part of the county is, and it'll give us our min number, which is the wettest part of the county. And of course, you have the average of those two numbers. That's what Lavaca County is sitting at. Currently, we're at 513 right now.
You said Texas Agri-Life?
Agri-Life Research, yes, sir.
TexasAgriLifeResearch.com?
Yes, sir. So if you want the actual website, the website is going to be twcgis.tamu.edu. And that website will actually bring up an interactive map where you can click on the different counties, not just Lavaca County, but for the entire state, and see where they're at, and you can get their view. So you can kind of see what the counties around us are moving along. And as far as that 500, what Chief Petchy was talking about, that's kind of the average what all the counties around us are kind of doing as well too, as far as even down south. So 500 is pretty much the average of what everybody's using at a treatment point.
And so the association is saying anything below the 500 or above the 500? Anything above 500?
Because
Okay.
again, that saturation is that top 5
So-
inches. If it jumps to 700, it's the 7 inches.
All right.
7 inches.
So we are at fire ban status. Correct. So just for clarity, the Lavaca County Fire Association now is recommending a burn ban at this time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So any other discussion? I mean, it just,
Okay, what's gonna happen if somebody is caught burning?
Well, we're,
Can't burn ban.
the fire departments and the fire association doesn't have an enforcement mechanism. So that would be, I guess, on the sheriff's department or police department.
depending on the jurisdiction of where the fire is located.
That's correct.
Right, okay. And again, I think the full weight of the fire association, if they have if they're recommending to the sheriff's department or a local police department for a fine, especially in repeat offenders, we talked about that in the meeting.
Y'all look at the paperwork, and it did explain exactly how, what the decision
Right.
made, on whether to charge that person or whether to fine that person. It's all in that.
And I see the only, one of the exemptions is, I guess, barbecuing at home, non-commercial food preparation.
Yes, sir.
That'd be just anybody having a family barbecue.
Yes, sir.
And burning prickly pear.
Yes. And I think, it even has, exemption for leaves, that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's same, it's the same as we've had in the past, with the exception, we're just using an automatic trigger on it.
The difference, okay, just want to make sure we're full clarity. Y'all had a burn ban proposal that was submitted to us that did not get into the packet. This is the burn ban that we revised based on what we've done before as a court. It's the same effect. It just didn't have the KPDI reading, but it does have the $500 fine in there, which is a Class C misdemeanor,
I think it's up to a $500.
up to a $500 fine. Okay.
And we can be sure to get that to y'all soon, if you don't.
Well, and again, we can implement this ban now, and then we can revise. It's always subject to revisions, or so to speak. But I know y'all had a numbering system on here. Y'all wanted to be this to be 23-01, if I remember right.
Yes.
Okay, so we would number this ban 2301. So if we have to go out of a ban and back into a ban, it would be 2302 if we went into another ban. But this one would be 2301. Okay, any other discussion? Then, I had a motion by precinct 3, second by precinct 4. So basically, that motion will stand. Motion by precinct 3, second by precinct 4 to approve implementing a countywide burn ban based on the Lavaca County Fire Association's recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. No opposition, the motion passes. Thank you very much for what you do. We are in a county burn ban at this time. Thank you for all y'all done.
Go now, sir. Thank you. Have a good one.
Okay. Item number 4, discuss and approve certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Patty Larson. That's out of precinct 1, and you will find that in your package on page 1. Do I hear a motion? Bring it to the floor.
Yes. Precinct 1 makes a motion.
Precinct 1 makes a motion.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Precinct 1 made a motion, second by precinct 2, to discuss and approve certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Patty Larson. Any discussion?
This piece of property is approximately 75 acres, and she is selling 20 acres. It does border a county road, so it does not meet any, it is exempt
It is exempt.
from our subdivision regulations.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, I had a motion by precinct 1, second by precinct 2, to approve the certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Patty Larson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 5, discuss and approve certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Randy Dorniak, and that's out of precinct 2, and that's found on page 7 of your packet.
Yes, sir. I move that we discuss and approve item number 5, certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Randy Dorniak.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Okay, motion is made by precinct 2, second by precinct 1, to discuss and approve certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Randy Dorniak. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. This is a 10-acre tract being, divided into 2 sections off of a county road. It truly is exempt from our subdivision requirements. As we've discussed in the past, we're continuing to see title companies wanting this exemption in order to be able to, process the closure of the land. So this is exempt. It's not something that falls in our subdivision regulations.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, motion was made by precinct 2, second by precinct 1, to approve the certificate of exemption from subdivision requirements for Randy Dorniak. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right. Item number 6, discuss and approve advertising for bids for the following two belly dump trailers for precinct 4. And that's found on page 12.
Yes, I'll make a motion to discuss.
Okay.
That's a bid for the problem. Anything, yes, I need to go out and bid for two belly dumps. And at this point, I will make a motion to go out for two belly dumps. And the bid will be due August 2nd, 2023 at 10:15 a.m. Bid will be open at 10:30. Bid will be awarded at August 14th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion was made by precinct 3, second by precinct 4, to approve advertising for bids for the following two belly dump trailers for precinct 4. Bids will be due August 2nd at 10:15 a.m. Bids will be open at 10:30 a.m. 2023. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 7, discuss and approve amending the existing contract for data processing services between Local Government Solutions and Lavaca County Clerk to add 2 additional licensed users. And this is referring to contract number LGS 17-0068. That's found on page 13. I entertain a motion to bring it to the floor.
Yes.
Precinct 1,
Second.
second by precinct 2. Any discussion? And
Can I say?
you may. You want to come? You want to come to the? Okay.
With my part-time ladies have finished the project, they've been indexing and scanning official public records. They're done with that project, and now I'm needing them to start scanning and indexing probate records.
Okay.
So in order for them to do that, they have to be able to
Access.
access to LGS, so that is the reason
Okay.
for adding the 2 licenses.
And you had the licenses in your current budget?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion, comments? If not, I had a motion by precinct 1, second by precinct 2, to approve amending the existing contract for data processing services between Local Government Solutions and Lavaca County Clerk to add 2 additional licensed users. Contract number LGS 17-0068. If no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Number 8, discuss and approve the request to pay out accumulated comp time. And this was brought to us by the Sheriff's Office. However, this has been collective across the county. We've been discussing this during our budget meetings we've been holding for the last month and a half. And I did have the auditor run me a report this morning. We got to bring it to the floor.
So moved.
Okay. Motion made by precinct 3, second by precinct 4 to bring this matter to the floor. I'll start the discussion. The time, basically, comp time it happens when we have turnovers, we have loss of personnel, we've got open positions, and other employees are having to pick up that slack. It came to attention via the Sheriff's Office. We were at $41,000 owed basically to sheriff deputies for working some of this overtime that they're being forced to work because they're covering shifts that are open positions, and yet they've accrued comp time that they're supposed to take off later. But if there's, it just starts accumulating, accruing. It's a liability on us. So at the time that the sheriff and I spoke, it was $41,000. I think it's down to $39,000 because some people have taken some comp time. But collectively, the whole county, as of this morning, totaled $101,186. $101,186.30 in accrued comp time. So that's working extra hours over 40. We're not paying out at time and a half, we're paying them time and a half hours. So we have it in our budget to pay this out this fiscal year because we have open positions that weren't paid either. So the money's there, the hours have been worked. So that is basically the pretext behind this. I would like to see this done this fiscal year in this budget cycle because we have the funds to pay it out, and then we start from scratch. Then next fiscal year, maybe creating some policy that we either pay overtime as it occurs and make the supervisors accountable for that. In other words, If someone wants to work overtime, it has to be approved in advance by the supervisor if budget is allowed, if that makes sense. And that, I would ask, that's another policy decision for another day. But any discussion on that? Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to ask, and I apologize, I haven't asked this before, and I should have. What is the current policy regarding carryover of comp time?
You want,
accumulated for some like law enforcement, up to 480 hours, and anything over that is paid out. For regular, like clerks, or regular employees, it's 240, and then anything is paid out.
Okay.
So that's a max.
Okay. So if you're at the threshold, then it's paid,
Yes.
but not the under the threshold amount.
No, that stays on the books until they are either take it in time or they leave employment with the Lavaca County.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's a liability that cannot go away, that does have to be paid out.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
and in particular, I don't have the total breakdown of all, well, I've got a total for all departments. The justice system creates scenarios where, I mean, my court, we had I think we had a 3-day window for a jury trial. Well, we went, that jury trial had to be done in 3 days. And so to get it all done, we had to work over, 5:30, 6 o'clock, I think it was 8:30 before we got a jury verdict. That creates everyone that's on the payroll, they're racking up comp time for those events.
Okay.
I would like to just make a comment, if we do pay out the comp time for all of the departments,
Mhm.
it will cause some of the departments to go into the negative with their budgets and payroll. But this year, there is no budget for that.
Right.
Sheriff's Department may have it just because of their position.
Right, they're the largest department, and it's, okay.
Unfilled positions.
Right.
This is something we're gonna have to look at for October,
Yeah.
where we can afford it in our budgets. We can do it.
I'm just making that comment. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay it out or
Well, this is,
you should. The saying there is not enough budget in this fiscal year to pay it out.
so,
Everybody.
Each department, so
Right.
it'll have to be appropriated from the general.
yeah. From my perspective, and again, I'm coming from the private sector, coming into a government role, we have created a situation where we have basically held hostage our employees. We need them to perform work because there's no other employees to pick from. And so we made them work overtime, but we call it comp time. But yet we can't take off because they just, not today, this week's not a good week to take off, but you've earned it. And then it just keeps accruing, and it's never a good week to take off. So, again, it's not on the subject matter, but we are in a reorganization plan right now as we speak with all departments for everything. We're looking for the next year's budget and looking to make some changes, some pretty large changes with personnel. But this is a matter here that we're on the hook for, and let me give you another example. And I don't remember how many hours Noe had, Miranda, but I won't use Noe's example. I will give the attorney's office. I believe if one of them has enough comp time, they could take off for 3 months. If they just choose no, or forced us at our hand, they'd have to take off for 3 months, but that'd be disruptive. We can't have that. So we've created a situation that they've got comp time, they can never use it. So that's kind of we're holding them hostage a bit.
But they won't be compensated for it, it stays on the books until they leave employment.
Stays on the books.
I'm just
Okay.
saying that.
But what happens if you quit your employment? You don't get your comp time. And so,
No,
is
we
that
get
correct?
paid out.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes, I will go and print out Department of Labor.
Okay,
I am 100% sure.
okay.
Okay.
If we do not pay that out, you will have a Department of
Well,
Labor.
that's what I'm saying.
in here doing a payroll audit.
Well,
But what you're saying too is that is an actual liability for the county.
We keep track of it.
The county has a liability for that comp
Absolutely.
time.
It's not a benefit to the employee.
Right.
It's a liability.
yeah, right now, that liability as of this morning was $101,186.30 collectively.
Collectively for everybody.
Yes. And I've got the sheriff's department was down to $39,593.65. I'm not sure these other departments. One department's $14,138. And again, if y'all want more information on this, we could table this to get more information in 2 weeks to have specifics. But, and again, to where Shana started with this was, I think sheriff's department can cover this and probably can cover the 101 for everybody. other departments, if we take out departments, they're going to go over because they didn't have this budget in their department. They had comp time
Yeah, I'm
accrued.
not sure about the four precincts, they may be able to move money around in order to cover
Yeah.
their overtime. I'm just talking about, like, my department, tax office, county clerk.
It affects everybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Judge, is it possible then that we, just take action on the sheriff's department
That's the
portion,
thing to do right now. is
since they have, or do you want to wait?
It's up to y'all. I mean, this is a court decision. I mean, the sheriff brought it up to our attention because he knows what has been accumulated, and we've been talking about, I've met with the sheriff's department at least 3, 4, 5 times over budget in the last 2 or 3 months. We're trying to do some things different, and this is my recommendation too as well. Let's get this cleaned up, and let's pay the officers what they've already earned. I mean, they're already understaffed, and so that's a morale issue in itself. When you feel like you can't take off, you just burden with it.
If the sheriff has it in his budget and he's ready to do it, I have no problem with getting them approved and paid off now.
Okay?
And then we can always sit down and figure out, since we're in the budget cycle right now, figure out what we need to do for the rest of the departments. Make sense?
Fair enough. But it's possible, even if these departments didn't have budget, we could take up the surplus labor collectively to pay this off. In other words, if we have unpaid labor in any department collectively across all universal departments, I mean, all the departments, we can,
That doesn't happen too much with the other departments, just because there's.
well, we do have some, we have turnover. Tax office has got how many people right now?
How many people now?
You're out 2.
I'm out 2.
Okay, so that's created
6 people.
out of, okay,
And I have one on the books that has been there hours.
okay.
Accumulated, and she's reached her goal.
And then
Can't take off.
and we have some departments, I'm looking at district clerk's office behind you, district clerk's office are full staff, but have comp time accrued because they're busy. The court system's back in swing and they are busy. Same with the attorney's office, they are full staff, but they're busy. So we can go back and look at it, see how much unused budget do we have if we want to do it that route. We know the sheriff has budget for it, so. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make a motion to take care of the sheriff's department and come back at a later date and see what the other departments we need to do, work on that.
Okay.
And I'll second that. Yes, we need to take a hard look at all the departments before October.
Okay, all right. So the original motion was made by precinct 3, second by precinct 4. We have a motion to approve the request out of the sheriff's office for accumulated comp time to pay out now for accumulated comp time, and that was a motion made by precinct 4, second by precinct 3. Any other discussion? It would be, as of this morning, it was $39,593.65. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So we just reduced our liability by 40,000, just about. Okay.
Say the sheriff's office was.
Number 9, discuss and approve county buildings update report. Do we have any building updates to report? If not, I'll take the lead on this. We had, bring it to the floor. Anybody?
So moved.
Okay. Second, anybody?
Second.
Motion made by precinct 3, second by precinct 4 to discuss and approve county buildings update report. The courthouse, we had Servpro came in out of Victoria. They spent 3 days cleaning our ductworks and gave us a clean bill of health. On Friday, before they left, we asked them, did you see any problems? They said, well, it was dirty. It was, there was some growth and some dust and some stuff, but they weren't even wearing masks as they were cleaning the ductwork. But all ductworks have been cleaned. They did bring some issues that need to be addressed, and Doug, I don't think you and I have talked about this. The return air in the judge's office, the return air vent just goes into the attic before it goes sucked back into the return air. So there's no ductwork per se in that unit, and they thought that was odd. So Servpro asked, and they said, basically, we've never seen that before, but maybe it's part of the building design. I don't know. But we need to have that looked at. So that could be creating some moisture, or sucking in some moisture in the system, or by design trying to take the moisture out. I don't know. But we want to look into that. Anything on the subway building, has that been addressed? Precinct one? On the subway building, have y'all started cleaning it out? I thought someone,
I thought we had everything moved out,
okay,
but I'm mistaken on that. There's some boards still in there, I think.
okay. So, but y'all started the process of cleaning it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any plans to have the annex building checked out, third floor?
There's some requests, the clerk's office has requested that we do a thorough cleaning and inspection of the AC system and as well. So I told the Servpro people that were here Friday that we would be calling for an estimate on that. And I do know there's some AC work being done today in the annex. I believe Kremp Grumman, it was going to be
Tomorrow.
tomorrow? Okay. So there's some scheduled planned AC work that's going to be done, but that's on the machine itself, not necessarily the duct work.
Yeah, because the humidity has been high, so they're trying to get it to a level where the mold doesn't start growing.
Right. And it's been a high humid June, July, so, but we need to make sure that we've got some systems in place to make sure that we don't have problems, just like we had here. We had something go wrong with the AC system in the courthouse, and we weren't aware until we had the problem. Yeah. Correct. All right. And then Doug and I met this morning, and we're going to try to have a meeting the Courthouse Restoration Committee has been planning and doing some things. We want to have a meeting to follow up and then bring some recommendations back to the Commissioners Court for us to go out for bids on certain repairs, especially with our doorways and so forth. All right. So I had a motion by Precinct 3, second by Precinct 4 to discuss and approve the county buildings update report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. With that, we'll move into our consent agenda. At this time, our microphones will go off while we're in consent.
I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
gotta make a motion. Motion made by Precinct 3, second by Precinct 4 to move into consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are in consent. All right, we are out of can you hear me? It's on, okay. We're out of consent. Is there any other business of the court? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
That's so moved.
You did, okay. Motion made by precinct 2, second by precinct 4 to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.